Real quick, before we hop into today's video, just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, my wallet. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sorry, I'm just closing the garage door here. Today, we're starting the second episode of our Scrubbing Out series. I've figured out, just because of how long those videos take to edit, that I'm probably going to have to do them, unless OP13 takes forever, a once per format video style. So in the meantime, I'll be adding other content in between that doesn't take as long to edit. Today, we're gonna be testing PRB02, and the deck that I've decided to bring to locals this time is going to be Blue Yellow Nami. So I'll be bringing that up on screen right now briefly so you guys can read what it does. But basically the idea of the deck, right, is the leader is a 5,000 power 4-life leader that says on my turn, once per turn, when a life card is removed from either player's life total, I draw a card if I have 7 or less cards in hand, which means I'm almost always drawing a card. Pretty strong ability, trying to reward you for playing aggressively and getting good tempo. And then also Dawn ×1 on my opponent's turn, right? I can discard any card from my hand to give my leader plus 2,000 power for the whole turn. Pretty strong, allowed to play a lot of bricks just because of the nature of the leader's ability. For the PRB format, I have added the new 4-cost 6,000 power blocker Marco brick, which is a very, very strong card, allowing me to refill my hands, keep up pressure if I need to early game, or late game just come down as a way to give me some insurance while I close out. So really excited for this one. I've been doing a lot of testing and I'm pretty happy with my list. There's like maybe 1 or 2 cards that I would change, and it's just ratios at this point. So I'm really excited to take it and see what happens. I am working on my Red Yellow Savo deck to try and get that to a point where I feel comfortable playing it in locals as well. But for the time being, I really want to focus on Blue Yellow Nami and try it out because I've been having a lot of fun with this leader, guys. It's super, super interesting. Very, very skill intensive, I feel like sometimes, and very easy to misplay if you're not careful, as well as very strong, I feel like, going into OP13 if you are not playing one of the big 3 decks, being Green Zoro, Black Emu, or Red Blue Ace. So I feel like Nami has a good way to not necessarily keep up, but at least contend with those decks despite not being one of them. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, as these videos take forever to edit. I really appreciate the support if you guys would be willing to do that for me. Another thing that I did forget to mention, guys, is for this video, my leader and Dawn cards are all custom leader and Dawn cards. So my leader is a custom Blue Yellow Nami that on the back is a yellow NL card, and my Dawn cards are all the art of the young girl, or shoujo, whatever it's called in Japan. So if you guys are interested in those cards, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I did want to give them a shout out because their products are so cool. Adakai TCG does a lot of custom One Piece, and they also do, I believe, Gundam and Pokemon and things like that as well. But they do custom One Piece leaders and Dawn cards and all sorts of interesting accessories, t-shirts, playmats, all sorts of things. So if you guys want to, you guys like what you see with the custom leader, or you just want to take a look for yourselves, by all means, Adakai TCG. There's other YouTubers that have codes for their sponsorship so that you can get some percentage off. I think it's 8 or 15%. So huge shout outs to them if you guys want to swing on by, and Adakai, please sponsor me. Alright guys, and we are almost to the store, Rare and Sleeveless again. Huge shout out to you guys for letting me film and record here, by the way. Really, really love this locals, very competitive scene, but very caring scene. Everybody here is very kind and considerate, really great people, very, very passionate about the game, something that's very refreshing, and I didn't really feel, again, like I was saying in my first video back in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's very nice to just be able to play a card game where everybody actually is trying to play the game and they're just having a great time instead of whatever else they got going on. But anyways, gonna pull in here and get our sign up done so that we can get entered into this tournament and get you guys in the first game. All right guys, so they knew what was up. They knew we were packing heat. We got the round 1 bye. We'll take it because it's a win, but I want to play. Also, it is surprisingly cold, and today was the first day I didn't wear my sweats, so we're rocking the jacket here, trying to stay warm. But yeah, round 1's a bye, so I might get some footage of one of my buddies playing, and then we'll see. I'll see y'all in round 2 though. Alright guys, and here we are at the full-length game portion of this second episode of Scrubbing Out. So what we have here is the game that was the least one-sided out of the games that I did get to play at this locals. And this is going to be our OP11 Nami here versus PBR1 Red Sanji. So very aggressive deck, and got a lot of good cards in PRB02. So this is our main addition to the deck right here, as well as Shirahoshi were our main changes. I'll have the deck list at the end of the video. This is what we're running. This is the hand that I decided to keep against Sanji. I saw 2 blockers, and I know that Sanji is an aggressive deck, so that's what I decided to go with. So we're going to keep that. We are going first here. We get 1 Dawn and pass. Our opponent here is going to go with the Red Nami Searcher. Search top 5 for a Straw Hat Crew card. And they're going to grab the 5-drop 7k Nami. It's just a vanilla card, but because of the leader, it gets rushed, and he's going to go with another Searcher Nami. Something to note here, we have switched up our strategy for blue-yellow Nami. So I used to always go second with this deck because all my cards were even curve. What I found is it's better to go first most of the time because this extra Dawn here can be put on leader. And so all of our even Dawn cards need to have that extra Dawn so we can put on leader because leader ability is very important, right? Being a 7k leader on our opponent's turn is very strong. And we're always able to get that card back that we discard for that ability with our own leader ability. So something to note, that's why I took first. That, and I was scared of the odd cards. And that second Nami search is going to get the 3-drop Sanji. We're going to put a Dawn on leader, swing for 6. Our opponent takes, which means that we mandatory draw from our leader skill because we have less than 8 cards in hand. Or, excuse me, we have 7 or fewer cards in hand. And then we're going to use that last 2 Dawn to play a Shirahoshi blocker. Just getting a little defensive, little preemptive here. Didn't have a Shirahoshi, unfortunately, or a Zeus or anything like that. I probably would have played Shirahoshi if I had it just to order that life. But we went with the Shirahoshi blocker, so if it's KO'd, we heal 1. Just a way to use our Dawn since our opponent took the 6k. And here our opponent's swinging in for 5. I'm trying to remember if we use leader ability or not. I believe we do. Yep, and we're going to pitch our, I believe that was 8-drop Kid. Yep. Plays out 4-drop Kobe, gives him rush. He's going to KO our Shirahoshi. So very interesting from our opponent here. Decides to KO the Shirahoshi because it has 3k or less base power. And then draw a card. I don't even think he gets to draw a card here, if I remember correctly. But immediately just saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to get to these blockers one way or another. He is comfortable with blowing it up and just giving us that extra life. Yep, he plays out the Kobe. Doesn't get to draw because he has too many cards in hand. So he blows up our Shirahoshi and we get to heal. So we are now a 5-life leader, guys, with multicolor, which is pretty cool. So we draw for turn, get a red rock. Probably not going to use that card. But we get our next 2 Dons. We're at 5. Kobe does not get a buff here. Excuse me, your leader has to be a Navy leader to buff that. So he's just a 5k. We swing 6 into it, and I think he counters for it here with 2 1ks, which is great. He gives us 2 cards out of hand. So we go with a blocker Marco and pass turn. Blocker Marco being a great new addition. Probably goes in the Wano build because it is Wano searchable, but it's just a 4-drop 6k that draws us 2 cards on KO, so we can get aggressive with it, and our opponent doesn't want to kill it. I use it similarly to like a Kikunojo or a Basil Hawkins, right? In that your opponent more often than not does not want to interact with that card unless they have some sort of bottom deck removal, because they do not want to let you draw those 2 cards. Our opponent in a very interesting situation here. We're at 5 life, right? They haven't even hit us once. They're already down 1 life, and all they have is a Kobe and 2 Nami Searchers with 6 Dawn here. And we have 7 or 8 cards in hand already with a decent board here in Marco, being able to just give us so much value, right, if our opponent does decide to get rid of him. So our next turn is going to be our, what is that, 7 Dawn turn. So we can probably look at a Kuma play here, right? And our opponent going to be swinging 5 into our leader. I believe we just take this one since we have the extra life for free. We might use leader ability. We'll see. I think we should just take this one here. No need to block with Marco. And we get a Nojiko, which is going to be pretty strong. Not the strongest, right? Because Sanji can give almost all of his characters rush. So it's not like it's going to be doing amazing work in this matchup. But it's still just a good card to bounce blockers late game maybe or something like that. So our opponent's swinging 7 here, forcing us to give him 2 cards if we want to use our leader ability. And I want to say we use our leader ability here with Kid and the Nojiko, because I was thinking, my logic here was I want to stay healthy. No, use the Hawkins. Okay. Yeah, because we're not really on our Hawkins curve anymore. He's not going to be removing our bodies. I'd rather have Nojiko to bounce stuff. And then he plays 3-drop Sanji here, swings in for 7 because his leader gives that card rush, right? So he puts a Dawn onto his 3-drop and then gives it rush with leader, swings in, we take. And I go ahead and trigger the Slave Arrow here because I'm not seeing any of my normal 2Ks to bounce back later with this. So I'm going to draw 2 bottom 2 cards here. We draw into a Hiyori, I think that is, or sorry, Shirahoshi And was that Marco? Probably should have just kept the Slave Arrow here, in all honesty, guys, just to keep our hand size healthy. Oh, it's Boa Hancock. Okay. So I get rid of the Boa Hancock. I'm not really worried about freezing a character. I'm just going to remove them if they're alive. Looks like I almost bottomed the Kuma there, which would have been a huge blunder. I decided to let the Nojiko go, which is probably fine. In this build, I will say something to note. I only run 2 of the Nojikos. You'll see that in the deck list after. And so because of that, I was a little hesitant to do it, but I decided I just don't need that card in a rush matchup where every card has rush. It's just not going to do anything. So we drew into our Rush Luffy for turn, a card that I am going to be cutting in the future. I just think Odin is better, right? Being able to protect himself from any kind of removal. Rush Luffy having to ditch a card from our hand to get that bounce and that extra Dawn. So we go ahead and swing into Sanji for 6 into 3. He lets it go and draws a card. And now we have our Marco. His Kobe is sideways again, so I think realistically I should just swing into him with the Marco here, which we do. We go ahead and swing 6 into Kobe. I think he let this go if I remember correctly. No, he gives us that 2k Sanji. Sweet. So at this point, I think our opponent was like low in hand, if I remember. And yep, we just go Red Rock to bottom deck that card as opposed to developing the Kuma. He has no board pressure here that is scary enough to like threaten lethal, even with the Rusher, right? We still have leader ability on board, 4 cards in hand, and we have 3 life to play with. And we can heal back with our Kuma if need be, as well as 2 blockers to emergency slam next turn if we absolutely have to. So we're looking totally fine here. He doesn't even want to swing into our body if he decides to take off the aggression, because it just draws us 2 more cards. And guys, that'll put us at 7 cards in our hand on our next turn, assuming we don't also take a life this turn. So just a pretty good position for us overall. Our opponent is pretty healthy at 4 life, so I'm trying to not take as much life early in the game if I can help it, just in case there's any Kiku Nojas that we could trigger out of life, right, to play out. We need him to be at that 3 life we need him to be at that 3 life we need him to be at that 3 life threshold. And my goodness, dude. We need him to be at that 3 life threshold in order to play out that Kikunojo from life. So our opponent here taking a long time to decide, right? Getting a thought in or two, trying to plan out his lines, and he goes 8 into our leader, right? So trying to take our life. We're going to take that one because we don't have any 2Ks. So leader ability plus 2 cards, not looking great. I don't want to pitch 3 cards from my hand. He has another Sanji that he's able to give rush, so he's going to swing another 8, right? Because it's a 6K on his turn plus 2 more. And we still don't have a 2K, so I think I take this one as well. We finally get a 2K in Kaya. And we have a bunch of cards in hand now, but only 1 life, so we really need a Kuma. We have the Pudding online here, and our opponent has 6 cards in hand. So what I want to try and do is get as many cards into his hand as possible, and then try and Pudding him. So I bounce the Sanji back, right? And this is what I was trying to do, is starve him, I think, is now I remember why I wasn't hitting this, because I would rather use Kid on it. So what I do here is we go 2 for that Nojiko that we got, bounce the Sanji so he has 7, and then we went for 4 to play out the Charlotte Pudding from our hand and put his 7 cards back into his deck and make him draw 5. And that was so that he wouldn't draw a card off of that Sanji and keep getting value. Because again, that 3-drop Sanji on KO draws him a card. So kind of like Marco, but for red and not quite as good, but more aggressive, right? So it's kind of like the red Marco is the way I like to think about it, or the red Kikunojo. And so we have 2 more Dawn up. I go ahead and swing 6 with leader, and I use that last 2 for Shirahoshi, and I leave the Marco standing just so that I can chump block the first thing he swings at us bigger than a 5 and just, you know, get more options into our hand. But now we're looking a lot better. We have Luffy that we will probably pitch off of leader ability to stay healthy. We have Marco to chump block. We have Shirahoshi to block or get blown up, right, if he decides to use removal. We have Pudding to threaten his smaller bodies if he plays like another Sanji or something like that and buffs it up. And we have a 2K as well, just to help us counter with a life left. So still looking pretty decent. Again, Sanji can just be very scary a lot of times because he's so explosive. So something that we need to keep in mind is that he can at any point just rush out any big character. I think it's any character with like a cost of 2 to 8, I want to say, or something like that, or like 3 to 7 with no on-play gets rush. So just a crazy strong ability. He plays out the 2K Sanji here, so he doesn't have a lot of cards in hand at this point, if I remember correctly. He only has, because he countered out last turn. So I believe right now he only has 5 in hand because he drew for turn. And with that 5 in hand, he goes ahead and plays out a 2K counter. Takes the top life, so he replaces it back to 5. Gives himself 2 Dawn cards, so he has 5,000 power on his 2K. And then he's going to Mole Pistol our... Oh, Mole Pistol's our Shirahoshi. That's right. And this, I believe, is like Dawn times 2. It gets plus 2K power or something like that. Something along those lines. But anyways... But he Mole Pistols our Shirahoshi to kill the blocker, right? Not killing our Marco, he kills the blocker. So we heal off that Shirahoshi, so we go back up to 2 life. So technically we were a 6,000, or excuse me, 6 life leader this game, just based off those 2 blow-ups of the Shirahoshis. And here I should pitch the Luffy. That's what I should do. But I think instead I pitched the leader card to counter out of his 5k swing, instead of free blocking with Marco. Oh, I did leader ability. Okay, I was about to say. Alright, we take that top life. It's another Eustace Captain Kid, and he plays out a blocker and passes. And so this is where I think it would have been good to have that Kiku Nojo, right? Bounce that blocker back to hand, but he only has 3 cards in hand. And we do still have the Nojiko, so what we could do is play out our 10-drop Luffy, which is, or our 8-drop Rush Luffy, which we might do here. So play out Luffy, swing our Luffy, trash a card from hand, and then when we trash the card from hand, we bounce his blocker back to his hand. And then, yep, we get that 8,000 power swing through, hopefully. And we give one of those rested of our 8 rested Dawn cards that we used for Luffy, we give that to our leader. Oh, we swing it into his character, that's right, because we're starving him. Okay, there we go. So we clear that body there. We go 6 into lead, I believe. He counters using that blocker that we just bounced, and we go for another Shirahoshi and pass. And this is just looking rough for our opponent. I mean, we were a 6 life leader this game. We've had blockers on board the entire game, and we are stabilizing pretty well at 1 life here. I'm looking at his trash right now to see how many 2Ks he has. We've gone through quite a few of them, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like 4 2Ks already, and we've been starving him quite a bit, so he hasn't seen much. He's going to use Virgo and search for the Punk Hazard card, right? Being another one of those 3-drop Sanjis. That's the 3rd one he's seen this game. Technically, it counts as the 2nd because we killed the 1st one, and then we put into the 2nd one back into his deck. But he seemed to have drawn yet another one, so sure, I guess. He has that. And our opponent has 3 life here, so he's not really in a ton of danger of dying soon, but he is on a noticeable clock because next turn we have that 8-drop Kid to burn a life, right? And then start cycling our hand at the end of our turn. And burning that life isn't like dealing a damage to him where he gets it, right? It sends it to the trash, so it's still going to keep him starved. And we've really only been swinging board most of this game instead of life. We swung life a little bit at the beginning just to get some chips in, but other than that, we've been swinging into his characters every single turn. So our opponent sends 7 at lead, and we block with Marco just to refill the hand here, and nice, we get a Jozu and a Zeus. So pretty much everything else that we needed. I mean, we somehow got a Kikunojo to our hand. Don't know how that happened. Maybe off of a draw or something, but we have a Kikunojo just chilling in the hand. Probably just going to pitch that off leader ability. Maybe it was the Kiku that we got off of life and not the kid. All right, he's going to play out the Frankie, which is a 6-drop 8k. He puts a Dawn on it, swings 9k rush. That's kind of crazy, guys. So we leader ability, sending our 2 2ks and the Kikunojo into our trash, and we untap with nothing but a Jozu. We have nothing but a Jozu, a Kikunojo, and a Dream. Sorry, that was the end of our first recording, so we're on our second recording now. So we're untapping here, right? Restanding our 10 Dawn turn, our second one, I believe this one is. In a little bit of a sticky situation here, right? We only have 1 life, 1 blocker, 2 cards in hand, but we were able to counter out last turn. So what we do here is we want to get rid of this Frankie, and I have a Jozu. So we go ahead and go 7 into lead, I believe. And then he takes that, so we get to draw a card, right, off of leader ability. And we draw the Marco, which is pretty good because we have 7 Dawn left to work with. We still have the 8-drop Luffy swing that we can use. So we can use that, pitch the Kikunojo if we want to bounce our Nojiko back to hand, or maybe our pudding or something. No, we're going to put 3 on leader, swing. Yeah, we bounce the pudding back to hand, pitch the Kikunojo to give a rested Dawn to our leader, and then he's going to take that one as well, so putting him at 1 life. And then we go 4, and we're going to play out our Marco blocker. No, we go ahead and swing 6 first, just to get counter out of his hand if he has any. He just takes, and now we could have, honestly, right here, probably played pudding to get rid of the 6 cards in his hand, but I decided it was better to play Marco just to ensure that we have a good board here of defense, right, with 2 blockers. We have Shirahoshi and the Marco blocker. Marco obviously going to be able to refill our hand, give us more counter, right, more options, and Shirahoshi not being able to be easily removed by things like Mulgun or Kobe because it will heal us a life. So really putting our opponent in a tough spot here is he only has like 2 decent attacks with his leader and Frankie, right, because he has to commit 5 Dawn to any of those 1-cost cards to threaten our leader because we have leader ability. So the only way to efficiently threaten our leader is to put at least 5 Dawn on them, which is half of his turn gone already. So he's going to swing for 10 at lead. I go ahead and use the Shirahoshi here. Probably could have gone with the Marco, not going to lie, but I think my plan there was If he doesn't swing as big with his other guys, we can block and counter with the Marco to keep him alive and potentially be a swinger next turn to go for game. But anyways, yeah, he sends 10 at lead. He's got 7 Dawn left, or 8 Dawn left he should. Sends 8k at lead with Sanji. And I think we block with Marco, draw 2 here. Yep, draw Odin and Slave Arrow. Not the best draws as far as defensive options go. But we do have a brick now that we can pitch in that Slave Arrow. And he has 5 Dawn. So he only has one more decent swing that he could do without using leader ability. He plays out that Sanji, puts 2 Dawn on it, and swings it with leader ability because he has Rush. So that's going to be another 8k swing at life. And we're probably just going to take this one. And it's a Kikunojo, so we trigger out the Kikunojo, which is pretty sick, right, for our last life. Puts out that last bit of pressure. I don't think with, 5 cards in hand, he was going to be able to counter out of 2 giant swings anyways. But with the Kikunojo, he's definitely not countering out now, right? We can just milk his hand, put like 3 Dawn on Kiku, swing 9. We can even just swing 7 with it if we want. There we go, swing 7, get a 2k, 1k out of his hand. And then we put the rest on Luffy. So that is going to be, I think that's 17,000 power. And we just swing in with that. We still had leader ability, so. Yep, that's going to be the game. Pretty tough for the Sanji, right? Just, we have a lot of defensive options. And we saw a lot of Shirahoshis that he kept on blowing up to heal us. So our opponent probably could have, more realistically, not blown up our Shirahoshis that whole game. And we wouldn't have healed as much. On our side, we definitely could have played the Kuma out, I think, to heal. That would have been a very good play, right? Just get a good attacking body that he doesn't want to remove. That is going to give us another life, another option, right, to do and discard a brick from our hand. As well as maybe keeping one of those Eustace Captain kids to be able to pressure our opponent's life by burning it. But anyways, yeah, that was the closest game in the full-length game. Now I'll get into the deck profile immediately after, and then I'll probably do a quick synopsis of the last couple of games that we unfortunately did lose before we get to the outro. So I will see you guys in the deck profile. Alright guys, and here we are in the deck profile. This was the exact list that I took to that locals. So that is going to be blue, yellow Nami with PRB02 supports. And I'm going to go over quickly each of the cards, my reasoning behind the overall deck build, and then what I would change going forwards. So I want to say first off, before I do any of the rest of this deck profile, I will not be playing this deck in OP13. I will be playing this deck once EB03 support comes out. OP13 I'm committing to red, black, Sabo. I just don't think Blue Yellow Nami has what it takes to have a good enough matchup into the meta to be effective. And I want to be able to get you guys better content as far as wins go and hopefully win a locals at some point. And so because of that, I just don't think Blue Yellow Nami, unfortunately, into OP13 has what it takes to win a tournament. That being said, OP12.5, I'm not saying it's the best deck in format. I definitely think that title belongs to Green Zoro and or Blue Purple Luffy. Both those decks are just so insanely strong, right? With an honorable mention going to Rayleigh, and then Bonnie not too far behind, but definitely those 3 I would say are the major ones, right? Rayleigh's very good as well. I do think that Blue Yellow Nami has an okay matchup into Green Zoro if it is built right. I don't think this was the correct build for Zoro, and I'll tell you about that a little bit at the end, as well as Blue Purple Luffy is a very, very bad matchup for Nami. Those were my matchups at this locals other than Red Sanji. It was 2 Blue Purple Luffys and 1 Green Zoro, and you'll see in the brief synopsis of those games that they did not go great, especially the Blue Purple Luffys. It just felt like I couldn't do anything. Enough yapping about that. Let's go ahead and get into the profile. So we have 1 copy of the leader, obviously Blue Yellow Nami. I'll explain what the leader does just so that everybody's aware. It's a 5,000 power, 4 life multicolor leader, blue yellow. Your turn once per turn. This effect can be activated when a card is removed from your or your opponent's life cards. If you have 7 or less cards in your hand, draw 1 card. And then Dawn ×1 on your opponent's attack once per turn. You can trash any card from your hand, and this leader gets plus 2,000 power during the turn. So for the cost of 1 Dawn on your leader and 1 card in your hand, you are a 7k power leader defensively. Pretty strong. And then also, anytime you change you or your opponent's life, whether that's manipulate it, right, move a card out and then put a card in, or deal damage, then you can draw a card. You do not draw one when you heal, unfortunately. That would be crazy. Every other time you can draw a card. And so I'll go over the rest of the cards real quick. 2 copies of the 2k counter Kaya, draw 2, trash 2 on play. Other than that, it's just a 1 cost, 0 power character. It's a 2k. 2 Nojiko, most decks run 3 or 4. This build I specifically ran 2 because I did not need to... There were other cards that I wanted to fit in, and I felt like we had enough consistency with this build. 3 Charlotte Pudding, one of the best cards in the deck. This card just wins you games into Blue Purple Luffy, into decks that you are starving. into decks that don't think you are starving them and greedily take. 4 Marcos. This is the new PRB02 card. 4-drop 6,000 power blocker that on KO draws you 2 cards. It is Land of Wano type, by the way, for those of you who are interested in building the Wano version of this deck, so it will be searchable with that. No counter on it, but a phenomenal card, right? You block and draw 2 cards. It's just free value. And for a 4 cost, guys, and 6,000 power, that's an amazing rate. Next, I'm running 2 copies of the 6-drop 8,000 power Boa Hancock, right? On play, freeze any character that is not Monkey D. Luffy, and then you can bottom deck a 1 or less. So pretty funny that you can bottom deck 1 or less is. Doesn't really come up, but the freeze is really strong, guys. You don't want to play this on curve. You want to play it late, right? If your opponent has like a Kozuki Odin or a green Zoro, right? Any scary character that is threatening lethal on you next turn, you can drop this card for 6, freeze one of your opponent's characters, and then do like one of your 2-drop characters or like a pudding or one of your bodies, right? And just really swing the tempo in your favor and have an 8,000 power character on the next turn to swing in. We got 2 copies of Jozu, okay card, I'll explain that in a second. 2 copies of Odin, insane card. 2 copies of Luffy, pretty good in this build, definitely cutting it going forward, I'll explain that in a minute. We have 3 Shirahoshis, 4 Hioris, 4 Zeuses, 4 Kikinojos, 3 Basil Hawkins, 4 Bartholomew Kumas, 4 used as Captain Kids, 2 Slave Arrows, 2 Red Rocks, and a Gravity Blade. And so now I'm going to go over kind of the idea behind why I played each of these cards. If you guys want to see what those cards do, by the way, I'm going to stop explaining them. You can just hover over them. The basic idea with this deck was I was going to use my early turns to play out valuable on-play cards like Hiyori or Zeus if need be, or just Shirahoshi, right? Block her up, get some meaningful bodies on the board that can help set me up, right? Draw with Hiyori and things like that. And then later game, use cards such as Jozu, Kozuki Odin, and Rush Luffy, as well as Slave Arrow to bounce my own cards back for value and being able to use their on plays again, or if they're 2Ks, right, play them out again and get value. So that's why I went with Kaya over something like Baby 5 or the 2-drop Sanji that you can play and like manipulate your own life. That's why I chose Kaya specifically, because we do not have the new Otama. That's why I think the new Land of Wano build will be better, because you can search your Marco with that deck, as well as search the Otama 2K. Cards that we can get our on-plays value from, Kaya, Nojiko, Pudding, as well as we have Hiyori and Zeus. And then another card that you could, I guess, bounce if you wanted to would be Hancock. This would be in like a super grindy game. You probably would never do this, but you could bounce your Hancock if you want, or your Bartholomew Kumas to heal again. With that being said, things that I'm changing moving forward for sure. We're definitely taking out the Kayas. We just don't need this card. I might not even run Marco in the future. We don't need we don't need Jozus, and we're definitely not running Luffy's. 3 Shirahoshi is fine. This is for 12.5 format, by the way, because like I said, I'm not playing this in 13. 3 Shirahoshi, in my opinion, is a good ratio. You don't want to brick on it and just keep drawing them if you're running 4, but I think 3 is fine because you do want to see this card into your black matchups, as well as red, I guess, is running removal as well, so it's good there. Hiyori and Zeus, staples. Kikunojo, staple. Hawkins, I can leave in at 3, I think. It's not unreasonable. 4 of this is mandatory, 4 of this is mandatory, and I think the spell lineup here is good for Red Rock and Raging Tiger. So what I would change moving forward is we definitely go up on Slave Arrows. Alright, so let me do this. Slave Arrow is basically Gum Gum Giant in this deck. I severely underappreciated this card. I think it is insane. It is so valuable. It is just broken. Thing is tweaking here. We're going to go for Nojikos. This card is definitely going back up to, I want to say 3. I might even consider running 4, but this card is very good as well. I'll do 4. Cards that are also going to go up right here is Odin. I think Odin is very, very strong. Definitely better than the Luffy, right? The only issue with Odin it is a brick into Green Zoro, but I don't really care. We don't really care about that. And then other than that, the rest of this deck's pretty strong, I want to say. I have been experimenting with 3 kids. This card is really, really strong, guys. It is really strong. I don't know if it's strong enough to run just on its own. In fact, probably what I'll do here. Because my idea with this deck, guys, is to make this deck miserable to remove stuff in. So almost all of our cards are just terrible to remove, right? So our little guys, sure, you can remove them, but they don't really do anything, right? Shirahoshi, you hate blowing it up because you heal, right? You have Marco, you hate blowing it up because you draw 2. You hate blowing up this guy because he heals, this guy because he trashes, this girl because she heals. What I might do here is I'm going to cut one of these down. Basil Hawkins is good. I'll probably keep him at 2. And the rest of these should be fine. And what I wanted to do is, for the Zoro matchup, I've actually been running Mr. 3, recently and testing that, the new one from PRB, and it's really been working out well for me. So I want to put this in it too. And then I'll probably put in another 2K, which will just be something like Baby 5 for consistency. And my idea here, guys, is you don't need a ton of 2Ks in this deck because it does have so much consistency with both the leader ability being able to trash any card, right, including a brick in order to get counter. And you already have stuff like Slave Arrow and all of these different cards to help defend. But with that being said, I do think that you need at least... I hate the idea of playing below 10 2Ks in any deck. This deck, you can get away with 9, I think, which is fine. So I chose Baby 5 just because it's a good consistency piece. You could also argue there's a Sanji. Let me go ahead and show that to you guys real quick. So Dawn ×2, when attacking, you can add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and add one card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Right? Pretty decent ability overall there. Effectively, how this works is it's another copy of Hiyori, right? Because Hiyori lets you manipulate the top or bottom of your life, right? You take that to your hand, put a card in, so you probably stack like a Kikunojo or one of these 2 trigger cards if you want. And then the issue with that is then because you moved a life card, your leader lets you draw a card. This guy does a similar thing, but he lets you swing, right? So on your, if you're really bricked up, right, the idea behind it is on your 3 Dawn turn, you play this out, put a Dawn on leader, swing 6K. The next turn, you can put 2 Dawn onto Sanji, swing for 5, add the top card of your life, and then heal from your deck. And then because you took 1 leader ability, draw, and you can put 3 Dawn on leader and swing, or put 1 Dawn, play another 2 drop. It's too niche, and it's easy to kill in multiple decks to include Zoro. Zoro can just eat this for free. Because of that, I decided not to run it. And Baby 5 is just, in my opinion, better. It's just a 2K, right? Which is what you want at the end of the day. And then sure, trigger, you get to draw 2 cards, so it's +1. Pretty neat. But yeah, I think this is a much stronger list. The only other thing is maybe you can cut like 1 Kid or 1 Slave Arrow for another 2K just to put you at a nice 10. Or another Odin. But I like this lineup. I think this is fine. The Galdinos, for those of you who don't know, right? If he's rested, you can trash him into draw 2. So similar to Marco, but he costs less. He has 1K counter, and he only does the draw 2 when he's rested. And that's for, of course, green decks, right? A lot of decks being able to rest lower cost characters, especially Zoro liking to do that to get around our blockers, or just to tap them sideways so we can kill them. With Galdino, right, we can draw those 2 cards, and for our leader, being able to discard any of them to become a 2K counter for the rest of the turn is pretty good. So yeah, that's what I would change. This is the new deck list that I would run, and this was our old one. So this is what we ran for the tournament. All right, guys, and that was the tournament. Sorry that I couldn't get you any footage in between matches, but I was going to time, or pretty much to time, every single game. So unfortunately, I was not able to give you the play-by-play. So round 1 was a bye, unfortunately, which we already talked about. Round 2, I played against, I believe it was a blue-purple Luffy. We did not win that one. And then we went against a red Sanji, and we did win. So that was an interesting matchup. Pretty close overall, but was able to scratch that one out. Then we played against green Zoro, and I did not see anything that I needed, and he just kind of walked the floor with me. Really cool guy. He's actually from Asia, so he's played in OP13 already, but he came over here. He was playing with me. So some of his cards are in Japanese. But yeah, very cool. So that was a fun game, but did unfortunately lose that one. And then our final game was against another blue-purple Luffy. And he saw the rush Luffy perfectly on curve, which is just devastating for my deck because almost all my cards are 4 drops or less. So my Marcos, my Kikunojos, my Basil Hawkins were all just getting bounced. There was no pressure whatsoever. It was just kind of an ugly scene to see. And of course I didn't see a rush Luffy of my own that I really needed, or I would have liked to see 8-drop Kid as well, or a Red Rock to get rid of his pressure, but just didn't see any of that. So it is what it is. Sometimes you just don't get the out. But yeah, that was the tournament. So our total record was 2-3 with 1 bye. I don't remember exactly what position I got, but yep. So we did get a win this time for our series of scrubbing out, but still looking for that locals win. I'm going to keep pushing, and I'll see you guys in the outro. Oh, you really thought it was over? Come on, guys. We're gamblers on this channel. Let's open a box of PRB02. All right, guys, and here we are. For the format for scrubbing out moving forwards, I'm going to do 1 video of the scrubbing out series per format. And in each one, I'm going to open 1 box of whatever that current format is, or whatever the newest product is. I'll show a box opening of that. So for the PRB02 or 12.5 format, whatever you want to call it, what I have here is we have 1 box of PRB02 and then the tournament packs we got from the tournament. For the PRB02 set, this is out of a case that I bought. I've opened 5 boxes so far, and I've not pulled a Gold Dawn, but I have pulled the manga Shanks event. So in this box, we are hopefully going to find something good. 1 second, let me get my opener. I actually have one now, guys. Things we are looking for in this set, obviously Marco is a good card to pull, as well as the alt for that card. Card is about $20 right now, I think. give or take. So it has fallen off since the last time that I opened this set, but still, nonetheless, a really good card, and it would complete my second playset, which I intend to hold for selling when Ace comes out and becomes good. In addition, I would not mind pulling an alternate of the Boa Hancock 5-drop yellow card, as that card has shot up to over $100 for the alternate because of the reveal of the new Boa Hancock leader coming out in OP14. So that would be another good thing to pull. And actually, let's go ahead and start with these. So I'll keep the PRB02 right here, and we'll do our tournament packs. Now, these are obviously non-winning, right? Didn't do super great in the tournament, so here's our first one, 3, 2, 1. Nice, and it's going to be the zero cost event alternate art. All right, here we go, 3, 2, 1. And we got Sengoku. Move this, and we'll get into the main attraction, the PRB02. Ooh, all right, and our first secret rare of the box is going to be Roronoa Zoro. Very cool. Ooh, speaking of Dressrosa, we got ourselves the foil Revolutionary Army Dawn. So I'll bring that up to the camera. Tashigi, very nice. Ooh, and we have the alternate art Gravity Blade. Guys, that is going to be our first parallel of the box. But look at this card, guys. It's got this like spiral. Oh yeah, there we go. See that? It's got that spiral pattern on it. Wow, that is sick. One step closer to maxing out the Nami deck that we're building. Another Basil Hawkins. Ooh! And guys, this is going to be our second SP for the box. Very cool here. This is the Buggy Searcher. Yeah, guys, real quick before I sleeve that, we'll just take one more close-up look at this. Look at that. Sick. All right. Nice, Dressrosa Sabo. And Law is going to be our other secret. Very cool. So no Rayleigh, but still very good card here. And then we have Shanks KO. Ooh, Lucky Roo parallel. All right. This is the new one. Pretty good texturing too. Thousand Sunny, and should be our Dawn card. Foxy. Oof. I mean, it doesn't look bad by any means. Just kind of hoping for a gold Dawn. Alright, and no Marco for this box, guys. Unfortunate. So yeah, I'll just lay out our hits again real quick. Like, I want to complain about it, but we did get the SP, which is pretty sick. And we got the Gravity Blade. So, pretty good hits for the hits that we did get. There we go. Alright. And that's going to wrap up our box opening and pack opening for our second ever episode of Scrubbing Out. Alright, guys, and here we are in the outro. Thank you for watching all the way to this point. If you liked the video, please feel free to leave a like down below by hitting that thumbs up button. Subscribe, as it really helps out my channel a ton and it lets me know you care. Hit the notification bell so that you never miss an upload or a stream. And feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below telling me what you did or didn't like about this video and what you'd like to see in the future. In between the scrubbing out episodes, I am going to be dropping either those individual gameplay analysis videos, which take a second, but I do enjoy doing, or I'll drop some sort of other random content, whether that be video gameplay, maybe blogs, if you guys want to see that, and let me know in the comment section if you want to see blogs specifically, because otherwise I will not do them. They take a while to edit, so if you guys want to see them, more than happy to do it. Otherwise, you won't see it ever. And last but not least, guys, please tell your friends about me. Hit that share button. Send it wherever you want. You can send it Insta, you can send it Twitter, or X, whatever it's called. I don't care. If you're new to the game, please feel free to go over to my individual game analysis that I did for my last video. That very first episode, the blue-yellow ace versus black-yellow Luffy, I have a quick guide on how to play the One Piece trading card game at the start of that video. So if you want to do that, you can watch that video. Anyways, that's going to wrap up the yapping for today. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.